Let's go. Let's get it. What's up? Osiris here. Morning Spice, episode number 8, I believe. It's the first time I'm counting episodes. Gonna do a quick audio check. We'll get into it. Sounds good to me. What's good? We got a Monday going on. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Feeling good going into the week. This topic had come up last year. I did not hear about this not once. Now, I heard about the smart city concept in general. This 15-minute, there are actually multiple concepts going on here, from digital IDs to central bank digital currency to all these different concepts. Smart cities are different than the 15-minute cities, but they're all the same. I've heard about them, but this is the first time I heard it mentioned with Cleveland. At this time, it's personal. It feels like I'm in one of those 80s movies where it was always like a dude trying to go back, getting revenge for somebody who did something to his family or whatever. Yeah, this time it's personal. If you don't know, I am from Cleveland, Ohio. Me and the bros, they might not be happy about me sharing this picture, but it's just a little picture. Who cares? It's when we were little ones back in the day. This is circa 1990. How about when I say talking about the 90s, this is when it all started. 1990, Cleveland, Ohio. What hip hop albums came out? Ooh, Tribe came out. That was the first Tribe album that came out. Before then, in 93, they came out with the classic. That one was a classic too. People's Instinctive Travels in the Paths of Rhythm. Woo. Public Enemy was big back then. I was in, I don't know, middle school, I think. Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby, don't front. That song's a hip hop classic. I don't care what anybody says. Stop, collaborate, and listen. 1990, Cleveland, Ohio. They're the ones I'm kind of shocked to see this, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not shocked that Cleveland is going this 15-minute. They're trying to, at least. This is me playing the piano. This is circa 89 at the Rainey Institute of Music, a piano recital. Looked like a deep concentration there. 1990. Man, that was a long time ago. And I don't, well, I play a little bit. I don't play piano well anymore because I just haven't practiced. But there's this song that my kids like, and I got somebody on Fiverr to transcribe it to me to sheet music, and we're playing it and singing it. It's a real cool song. But so I still know music. Played violin, viola, piano. Shout out to the great people in Cleveland. Man, I love Cleveland, Ohio. Zandra Richardson ran the institute, one of the best people that I've ever known in my life. Liza Grossman, who was the conductor, was my first violin teacher. She was 18 years old at the time, and what a great person. And she started her own orchestra, the Cleveland Contemporary Youth Orchestra. I'm grateful that I was able to play in that for a little bit, and I made it to the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Orchestra in Severance Hall for 1 year. I remember during breaks listening to Busta Rhymes. That was his Extinction Level. No, I forgot which one that was. It was the one with Woo-Ha on it. During breaks, played violin, snuck in there. Ice Ice was a classic. Thank you. Let's not front on that. Adventurous Guide to the Galaxy. Thanks for stopping by. As always, Toy Mafia. Yo, what's good? I'm going through like just a little bit of memory lane just to show you why this is somewhat personal. When I kind of saw it, I was like, Cleveland, no. This is what happens when your mom is the one that gives you your haircut. That's me circa 83. I'm about as old as my son is right now. Wow, I should do a side-by-side with that picture and a picture of my son. So I was about 6 years old in this picture, and my son is about 6 years old right now. That picture is taken in Cleveland, Ohio. Appreciate my mom. Shout out to my mom. She cut our hair. trying to save that money. I didn't care. My hair is not easy to cut. So, but this is a just a picture of my son here. No, I don't really see that much similarity. So that's my son at the same age, rocking a Super Mario shirt. So that's interesting. Man, I thought I was older than 6 in that. Look at that part. That's rough, man. That's a rough haircut. Look, the whole thing is rough. We shopped at Goodwill back in the day, yo. I remember we would go to Goodwill. I used to hate going to Goodwill in Cleveland. We in Cleveland proper. I didn't grow up in the city of Cleveland proper, but I grew up in a suburb not far from it. But my music lessons were in Cleveland. My mom, when we went out there, we went to the Goodwill in Cleveland. I still remember like it was yesterday. That's where we went shopping, and she would be there forever. She would be there forever. So we would go in the Goodwill, and it would be like 2 hours later we would leave. So it was fun at first. You go through all the little bootleg used toys and stuff like that, but she'd be going through the bins to get socks or whatever we're getting from the Goodwill. This is me. I think this is literally the only picture I have of me like back in the day. This is me at 18. Cleveland is a unique place, I think. I've lived in just a few places. I lived in Minnesota, Cleveland, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Colorado. I've lived in quite a few places, visited quite a few places. I have a feel of America. I don't have a great international feel. I do have a feel of America, though. But Cleveland's a unique place. There's a lot of famous people that grew up who are from not necessarily grew up, but are from Cleveland. It's funny that who cares who's from a city? You know what I mean? Like who cares and what makes somebody famous? Like just because they're known by a lot of people. But famous people born in Cleveland. There's a lot of people that you might know who are at least born in Cleveland. Drew Carey obviously is a great one. Cleveland Rocks. He had that on his sitcom as his starting song. Halle Berry, the great Halle Berry, represent. Halle Berry, Tracy Chapman. A lot of interesting. Arsenio Hall. Yeah, that was a great late night show. Phil Donahue, Paul Newman, some good names there. So you guys share some good company. The Cleveland area, obviously, is what we're doing with that. Cleveland has historically been the punchline to many jokes, and rightfully so. I wish it wasn't rightfully so, but it was rightfully so. Back in the day, there was this push in Cleveland to try and be like, okay, we it's a great area, great people, and all things equal, it's relatively cheap to live there. So if you're working virtually, you could, I mean, the type of house you could get out there for the same price for a house in California areas or Colorado, even, you could probably get a mansion out there. So this is, and a good area, some good schools too. But so people in Cleveland had that underdog feel about them, and they're like, okay, everybody talks about New York. New York's the Big Apple, but Cleveland's a plum. That was their slogan to take on New York City back in the day. This is from the 80s, I believe. I had one of these shirts. I don't know where my mom probably got it from the Goodwill. I don't know where she got it from. They're probably giving it out for free. I know she didn't pay for it. I know that for a fact. Well, however she got it, she didn't buy it. That's how. I mean, I just have to be honest. We're lame. That's just lame. They paid a marketing group to do that. New York's the Big Apple, but Cleveland's a plum. Who's excited about a plum? That makes you seem more lame. This is from back in 81, and we'll talk about this. Back in 81, Cleveland was dealing with a lot of stuff. It wasn't long before that the Cuyahoga River was catching on fire. To this day, people make fun of Cleveland for that, and rightfully so. In 78, Cleveland became the first city since the Great Depression to default on its financial obligations as it couldn't pay the $15.5 million in short-term loans that was due from local banks. You see, that was back before the cities and Democrats kind of funneled and printed the money through the Federal Reserve and then used stuff like a pandemic as an excuse to fund these failing cities. So Chicago, all these cities underwater, draining their pensions, their funds, draining the future funds that they're going to pay out for, like teachers and stuff like that, draining their funds to try and balance the books, because they can't, the federal government doesn't have to balance their books, but the local governments do. So all you're waiting for is the next pandemic, $5 trillion bill, and we give it to cities who agree with the LGBTQ agenda, and it's really a pandemic, but we tie it all together and we'll pay off your debt, basically. That was before that was as prevalent as it is now. So they defaulted. That stuff's not going to happen, I don't think, nowadays. You might see it every once in a while, but. So we came up with a slogan, New York's the Big Apple, but Cleveland's a plum. That's what we could do? We couldn't do any better than that, Cleveland? That's like the most Cleveland thing ever. The Cuyahoga River did catch on fire. That was a thing in the Cleveland area. And it was the Cleveland was really got a lot of jokes for that, still to this day. In 69, an oil slick caught fire on the river caught on fire. Of the Cuyahoga River just southeast of downtown Cleveland, Ohio, the image that the river caught fire motivated change to protect the environment. However, this was in fact the 13th recorded time that the river had caught on fire since 1868. So that we couldn't even keep the river dry back in the day. How about sports? At least we had sports, right? I rep the Browns proudly. My kid, well, I'm going to let them choose what they want to do, but my son reps the Browns too, represent. We were sad when Baker left. I liked Baker. I still like Baker a lot. I wish him the best, but, he's struggling. Cleveland sports were so good or bad that they have two Wikipedia entries about failures. The fumble in Cleveland. The fumble in Cleveland lore. The fumble it was a play that occurred during the 87 championship while I was a young man, still boy at the time, 10 years old, forming my thoughts about the world. And the Browns were one of the best teams. You had Bernie Kosar and the whole squad. Man, they were a really good team, and Clay Matthews and all them. At Mile High Stadium, and ironically, I'm in that area now. Fumble occurred late in the fourth quarter of the game and cost the Browns a chance to tie the contest. They're like at the 2-yard line. We're all like, okay, everybody's like, oh, the game's gonna be tied. We're thinking about what's the next move. And he just fumbled the ball. He walked up. Ernest Biner, who was a great running back, man. But think about if you played back in the day, if you played Tecmo Bowl, you had Kevin Mack, Ernest Biner. That wasn't a bad combination back in the day. Cleveland also had the drive, which I actually is better because to me it was Elway's greatness. It wasn't like a Cleveland mistake as much. The defense didn't hold up, but John Elway was just, the dude was, picture Andrew Luck, but just like better. That was John Elway. And picture Andrew Luck in his prime times 10, an order of magnitude, and that was John Elway. He was a hell of a football player. But we had good teams too, and you remember Jordan obviously hit the shot over Elway. And I bring that up to tie it into the 15-minute city, believe it or not, because you come up with a city like that and you're known for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and not much else at this point. The flats are trying to be built up. But how do you stay relevant? You have manufacturing jobs leaving like many other areas, and that hurts the cities as well. And your identity kind of gets clouded. What is the identity of Cleveland, Ohio right now? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That's the identity? Really? I guess it could be worse. So what you do is you look at the landscape of the world from the WEF and everybody down on, and you try to get ahead of the game. That's what you would try to do. And I don't blame the city, but that does take us into the concept of this 15-minute city.
Mayor Bibb.
And it's a crazy, crazy concept. This is what it sounds like. Cleveland, Ohio, to become or to try and become the first 15-minute city.
Mayor Bibb introduced the idea of being the first 15-minute city in the United States. He did this in his State of the City address last night.
The urban planning model is new, but city planners told our Sarah Shookman the time is now to tap into federal dollars to address some of Cleveland's deeper problems.
Imagine a Cleveland where everything you need is less than 15 minutes away.
It's this ideal planning framework where human needs and desires are accessible within a 15-minute walk, bicycle ride, or transit trip. And that's really what we're striving for in this new planning model.
City planner Matt Moss says it doesn't have to be a dream. Instead of a concrete jungle where people work and separate places where people live, in a 15-minute city, everything is closer.
It's starting out with the city we have now, and then asking residents how they might want their community to grow or change in ways that, again, make things more accessible or provide them with more opportunities to access the things they want to get to in their day-to-day lives.
First, planners are making a list of what's there, things like grocery stores, parks, schools, but also workplaces. In some neighborhoods, it's more quality that's lacking due to busted sidewalks or lack of bike lanes or bus stops. In others, whether it's green space or food justice, they're lacking altogether.
The problem isn't that we just don't have a store. It's sort of like, well, why don't we have a store? And we need to dig under and get at the roots of that problem.
Case Western professor Darcy Friedman directs the Swetland Center for Environmental Health. Her research has shown addressing nutrition equity can start a strategy of change.
Because unless people have the ability to eat a healthy, nutritious meal every day, I don't know how we can talk about people being prepared to, go into our education systems or get the best job available for them.
Along with building, the city says changes to zoning restrictions and development incentives are likely necessary. Friedman urges community members to make sure they're at the table.
Not just asking, demanding to say, where is the space for us to inform what this looks like?
Those opportunities for participation are coming, the city says, noting that the payoff here is a greener, more sustainable city with more solidarity between neighbors. But let's be real, this change will not happen overnight. Laura, city planners say the timing is right, though, with funding from federal infrastructure bill and some other sources, and we will keep you updated as to how we can all weigh in.
Yeah, I would like all of us to weigh in on this 15-minute city concept, as most anything that these people do, and when I say these people, anybody who agrees with this concept of the 15-minute city without discussing the pros and cons. There's a lot that sounds good about a 15-minute city, but if you only tell me the pros of the decision, the good stuff of it, and we both know there are cons to it or potential concerns with it, and you don't address that, and you call everybody else who doesn't agree with it some right-wing conspiracy nut, then that's who I'm talking about. You are a problem. And these concepts are very simple for me. I am pro-transhumanism, but that's in a vacuum. You think I'm pro-transhumanism with these wackos in charge of it? No, but there's nothing that these wackos who are in charge of that I would agree with. So you want to talk about the concept of a 15-minute city? Okay, great. But not with these wackos in charge. and let's talk about the pros and the cons. Inside Cleveland's plan to become a 15-minute city. Let's take a look. Cleveland isn't known as a walkable or bikeable city. That's very true. It's very outdated. But its new mayor wants to change that. This is an article from December. So I just found out about this last weekend, that Cleveland wanted to be one of the first 15-minute cities in America. And then I went and I did a Google search, and I'm like, they've been talking about this since early. This is a later article. The earliest article I saw, I think, might have went back to 2021. I just liked this Fast Company website, so I just went with this article. When Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo touted the idea of becoming a 15-minute city, a place where it's easy to reach work, schools, stores, and other destinations, it didn't have as far to go as many other cities. They pushed for multiple changes, and obviously they're tying in the climate with this as well to improve the quality of life and all that. So it's interesting that you see Edmonton, Paris, you're seeing it all over the country in different places, Melbourne, all talking about the same type of stuff. Making a highway car-free, adding bike lanes, all that kind of stuff. And they say the goal is a bigger challenge for Cleveland, which has a walk score of 57. Paris has a perfect score, 100 out of 100. So I think some of these concepts are there's no problem. You go to New York, a lot of people don't own cars. But I want to hear the full story out of this. This is how they present it. They say, hey, these are the problems. You have to overcome it. You want to be able to have access to grocery stores. That's great. That actually does sound great that you have fresh food, fruit in the city. They want it to be more accessible. They will throw the word inclusion in there as well. I like the Cleveland Public Library. Wow, this is a picture from 1922. I haven't been there in, man, I don't know how. It's been over 25 years probably since I've been to the Cleveland Public Library. It's a big library. So they're mapping it out to map out assets like parks and stores and all that. So I'm going through the article and looking at it. They're looking at where there are clusters of amenities and all that. And notice what I don't see in the article. I don't see any cons. What are the concerns? What are the potential pitfalls, downfalls, short-term, intermediate term, long-term? I'm going through the article. They see multiple benefits for making these changes. Got it. That's propaganda. That's what that is. Even when I talk about, I rep MAGA, whatever, when I talk about Pappy Don, I talk about pros and cons. Tell me something that we talk about in this channel that we don't talk about the pros and cons of. Anything. We did the live streams about holding up the speaker vote. We talked about the pros and cons of that. How are you doing an article on the 15-minute city and there's not one con in the article? That's a joke. That's propaganda. And it kind of makes me wonder, why is that? Because we all know it's not a perfect concept. Nothing is perfect. Nothing in life is perfect other than if you're in heaven. So if that doesn't make your spidey sense tingle, I don't know what will.
Spider sense start tingling.
Okay, you're doing this, you're talking about this. Same with the pandemic. We go through lockdowns. We don't talk about the pros and cons. Not only that, the people talking about the cons, they get censored. We know that for a fact now. That's not a joke. This platform that I'm on right now censored them. Censored me. Censored a lot of people. That should be a red flag. They think it's funny now. Okay, we got the concept of the 15-minute city. You don't want to talk about the cons. Let's go to an organization like the AP, see what they do. Oh, their fact focus is conspiracies misconstrue 15-minute city idea. Great. What are the pros and cons? What is this going to do for me? Go through this article, they go through and they say, here's a closer look at the facts. Claim 15-minute cities are designed to restrict people's movements. What's the point of a 15-minute city if it's not restricting your movement in some way, shape, or form? increase government surveillance. We'll talk about that. Infringe on other individual rights. Some of this stuff is opinion. So how do you fact check opinion? My opinion is, I don't know I can't read people's minds. My opinion is that it could go down that route. You can't fact check that. That's an opinion. Here we go. The conspiracy theories took off late last year in the UK, and this is go all over. They're doing this. It's almost like an alien invasion. Canada and Australia, UK, America, popping up all of the same idea, popping up all over the place. It took off, and as the concept was conflated with an effort to impose new traffic restrictions to ease congestion. So people are watching this stuff, and even somebody like me who might say, okay, 15-minute city, I got your idea. I don't live in the city, but if you don't live in the city, don't worry about that. In my opinion, they could funnel you to the city. They could try to do that. They could try to urbanize your areas as well. Donald Trump, if I have time, I'll get to an article where Donald Trump actually mentioned that in a way. But so we look at it and we say, well, you could be trying to funnel people into a certain area, almost like saying it's a lockdown, but unofficially not a lockdown. It's a 15-minute city. Or if you do need to lock down, that could happen at the drop of a dime. So we see that, and then we see stuff like this where people said in the UK, hey, we actually wanted to do stronger lockdowns. I wish we could have done a stronger lockdown. And you don't think this has anything to do with a 15-minute
sort of
city?
A scramble, people were trying to work out the right thing to do. But do you think Labour were really opposing properly at that time, really interrogating the information?
Well, look, I mean, to be honest, I was actually calling for harsher lockdowns and for them to be brought in more bluntly, because actually the evidence that was quite apparent in my constituency is that when the Eat Out to Help Out scheme happened, there was a spike. There was a spike in deaths. People have literally lost their lives because of that in Ilford South.
He casually says, I was hoping for harsher lockdowns. So this is a Labour parliament. I'm not an expert in their politics over there across the pond. It's Labour. What does that mean? Parliament, member of parliament, MP, said that his views on the protocols wouldn't have been popular. This is after the fact, after we already know everything. Casually says, well, I was actually looking for harsher lockdowns. So they're talking about the pandemic, and one of these people who I bet would support this idea of a 15-minute city is like, I would have had harsher lockdowns. Now let me ask you, AP writers, if somebody wanted harsher lockdowns, would it be easier to do or harder to do if you had a 15-minute city? And we know who the lockdown champions of the world were, the CCP. They ruled lockdowns. So they say, oh, they were going to do these traffic restrictions. You're conflating them with the 15-minute city. No, what we're seeing is that you could do that combo like we're playing Street Fighter. If you do the you can follow up with the fireball or whatever. I see that you can do the uppercut and then the fireball and then another combination. I don't know if you will do that, but I know that you can. Traffic plan outside Oxfordshire, England isn't climate lockdown. Oh, okay. That's just a label. It is control over, it is restricting control. The county of Oxfordshire, England, which includes the city of Oxford, is imposing a climate lockdown that will confine residents to their neighborhoods. That's the claim. AP says false. They've approved a plan to put traffic filters on some main roads, restricting drivers' access during daytimes and freeing up spaces for buses, cyclists, and pedestrians. But car owners can apply for day-long permits to bypass the new rules, and many other vehicles are exempt. So that's a funny way of saying, I don't like you calling it a climate lockdown, we'll call it a traffic filter. What is you can't make this kind of stuff up. This is the AP, Associated Press, doing the opposite of critical thinking, doing the opposite of providing context, basically shilling for this concept of a 15-minute city. Some people said it's time to wake up. I agree with them.
Will everybody please wake up? The World Economic Forum. They love to play games with our lives. The 15-minute cities, smart cities. They just label it so nice. And cities across the globe are signing on. Paris, Edmonton, Melbourne, you name it. They're all jumping on board. They want to be the first to the punch. Well, guess what? When they divide you up, they're already playing around with our food chain. We've already seen that over the course of the last couple years here, and they continue to do it. They want to do away with meat by 2030. They want to do away with all dairy products come 2030. Basically, our proteins. They want to limit your caloric intake by 2,500 calories by 2030. They're dividing us up, because once they divide us up, then they can stifle communication. They can cut things off. They can control you even more. This is the Hunger Games. Wake up!
They are doing this in a lot of different areas. Brandon Rutter says, let me guess, you have to be up to date on your jab, else you ain't going anywhere, ever. Yeah, the same people who wanted to mandate the jab for you to work, same people who want the 15-minute cities. And if you say, wait, you're the same person that wanted to jab me up or I couldn't get a job, you also want the 15-minute city, can I connect these dots? No, you right-wing nut job. Here we go. It's Florida as well. Florida's not immune to this. Fort Myers. Let's take a look. Let's take a trip let's go from Cleveland to Fort Myers. See what they're up to. Fort Myers Beach went for Trump. 60% of votes in town went to incumbent president. This is November of the infamous 2020 year. So this is obviously you could even argue I don't know Fort Myers Beach very well. I believe that's where that viral video went from that one anchor. I forget her name. But you could say it went to Trump. You could say that. Maybe even a MAGA area. If you know Florida, let me know. It's definitely not a liberal area. It's not a Biden area. We know that for fact. Oh, well, let's go see. Fort Myers Beach. How y'all doing out there with this concept of the 15-minute city?
Within a 15-minute walk.
Sounds pretty nice, right? Cities around the country are already doing it. NBC2 meteorologist Lauren Hope finds out if during Ian recovery, it could be a reality here in Southwest Florida.
I love how they start this off. I know some people hate when I interrupt the stuff, but it is what it is. Maybe if I clip this up, I'll play it full without interrupting. But I love how they start this off.
From where you shop to where you work, all within a 15-minute walk.
Sounds pretty nice, right?
Sounds pretty nice, right? And then the sales technique, one of the sales techniques I love is everybody else is doing it. They're selling the idea. They're not reporting the news. They're selling the idea of it.
Around the country are already doing it. NBC2 meteorologist.
Everybody else is buying these knives I'm selling you. Everybody loves this car. It makes people comfortable. Oh, everybody else is doing it. Okay, no big deal.
Lauren Hope finds out if during Ian recovery, it could be a reality here in Southwest Florida.
Southwest Florida's population is booming.
We have seen the population literally double in approximately 2 decades, which is unheard of for municipalities.
What used to be an appealing retirement destination is now attracting more young families, according to Fort Myers Public Information Officer Liz Bella-Matthews.
Those that are looking to raise their kids in environments that are healthy, that have a lot of different options, they're coming here. And, we're excited about that.
City officials are working to keep up with the growth.
We have 91 different projects going on in the city right now. I would say probably a majority of those are housing, higher density, multifamily type housing.
Fort Myers Director of Economic Development, Stephen Weathers, says the success of any city comes down to the success of its downtown.
So one of the things I've found in the cities I've worked in, what makes a downtown appealing is I don't have to go outside of the downtown for, say, a grocery store or for a gas station or for a dry cleaner. We really want to make this the 15-minute city.
The 15-minute city is an urban planning concept where everyday necessities are easily reachable within a 15-minute walk or a 15-minute bike ride. This concept can promote more green spaces, but it can also decrease carbon emissions.
From an environmental standpoint, one of the biggest pieces is that if we're driving less, we're putting less carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
Notice there's no there's no cons or anything like that here. It's all positive.
Atmosphere, we're slowing the pace at which we're changing the climate that we have to live with.
Dr. Wynne Everham, a professor at the water school at FGCU, knows a thing or two about creating a usable space.
And I think most good 15-minute city approaches include a significant amount of green space within walking distance, because we're finding out that that's really good for people.
Something that is in the works for downtown Fort Myers.
We don't have enough green spaces, and we recognize that as a municipality. So we are.
After I play this clip, I'm going to tell you, because if you do like the concept of it, I'm not against you. I do like some of these concepts. But I'm going to tell you, really, it's a really simple litmus test that I use to find out, are my spidey sense tingling or not? I talked about the pros and cons. It's another very simple litmus test.
We're looking to see where it is that we can add more parks. We expect that by 2024, we will have a parks master plan that will be able to show the community what it is that we're going to do and within what time period.
There is a market value to building in a different way, that there is a lot of people who would like to have the 15-minute concept outside their door. They would like to be able to walk to the grocery store, take a bike to their doctor's office. Maybe there really are people who think, yeah, I need a 2-hour commute every day. I love that. I don't know who they are, but maybe they're out there. But we need more options.
And ditching the car is an option many residents enjoy in Mercado, a multi-use community in Naples.
Everything's within walking distance.
Developed back in 2000.
So notice they're talking about the commute. So typically when you're talking about a commute in a standard, obviously not in every case, but in a standard environment, you see rush hour commutes from the suburbs or exurbs to the city. That's the 2-hour commute. They're not commuting from the city to the exurb or suburbs typically, for the most part. So in the morning, traffic goes from the outside to the city to in the city. That's where the congestion comes from. And then in the rush hour comes out of the city, out to the burbs or wherever else. So when you talk about eliminating that commute, you must be talking about funneling the people from the suburbs to live in the city. That's what you're talking about for the most part.
2008.
And I think it was ahead of its time.
Mercado manager Michael McLean says the community has 92 condos, 43 single-family homes, and over 80 tenants.
You can start at 6 a.m. at Yoga Loft or Mandu or Cycle Bar. Go to Whole Foods, get your groceries, go shopping, go see a movie, and literally spend your entire day at Mercado.
As Southwest Florida grows, more 15-minute cities are likely.
You're going to see a lot in the next 3 to 5 years that I think is going to be that much better to improve the quality of life for so many residents. I know that we're going to have a superb city that's going to just build on what it already has. This city is so special. It's very charming. It has so much history. It has so much personality. And I think as a city, municipality, we are recognizing that and finding more ways to bring that to light so that everybody can see that too.
In Fort Myers, meteorologist Lauren Hope, NBC2.
So that's what it looks like there. My take here is what I want to talk about is, did the people ask for this or not? That's one of my other litmus tests. Is there organic demand from the people on up? Or even if it wasn't the idea of common people, did you present the idea and then did the people adopt the idea and say, yeah, it's a good idea? If that doesn't happen, I don't care how good it sounds, transhumanism, these cities, anything, if it's not an organic push where the people voted for it, notice during the pandemic stuff, the stuff I was heated about, still heated about, there was, to my knowledge, there was not a one piece of legislation, and the people, legislation is through the voice of people, through who they voted to do this stuff because they got to go do their jobs and do everything else. So through the voice of the people, did any state legislator or federal laws pass on the pandemic? No. It was determined by the executives and given to you and I. That's a red flag. It should be from the bottom on up. Even if you present the idea, let's do lockdowns, okay, sell it and pass legislation. Why didn't they pass legislation? Because they knew people didn't want it. Same thing with this stuff right here. If you are for the 15-minute city, sell it to the people will demand it, and they'll go to their representatives and say, I want a 15-minute city. That ain't happening. Nobody's asking for this. Here's how it looked like in London. You want to talk about why I'm really against this kind of stuff? Look at this London mayor psychopath right here. They're at some type of meeting. What is the meeting here? They're at some type of meeting. So in London, the mayor, and we know for a fact is a puppet of the WEF, Sadiq Khan, says anyone who objects to the restrictions that will turn London into a 15-minute city is a far-right pandemic denier and an anti-V. Listen to this while he's speaking at some event. And does it sound like the people in London want this?
There are objections. In 2006, when we banned smoking from public places, and there are objections now. What I find unacceptable, though, is some of those who've got legitimate objections joining hands with some of those outside who are part of a far-right group who are... Some of those...
So here's what happened. So he tried to lay it out like, okay, a lot of people were against banning smoking and a lot of y'all like it now, is how he started it out. So I know a lot of y'all don't want this 15-minute city. You're objecting to it, but I think you'll like it in the end. And the people say, nah, hell no, at least at this event.
Smoking from public places, and there are objections now. What I find unacceptable, though, is some of those who've got legitimate objections.
So he says he finds certain things unacceptable.
Joining hands with some of those outside who are part of a far-right group who are...
What the hell does that have to do with the objections? You see it? The label right here. He says, well, people who have legitimate objections, he's distinguishing legitimate objections from your objections being attached to whatever the far right means.
Some of those outside who are part of a far-right group who are...
And the people are right here saying, whatever people are here are saying, no, don't label us that, and we don't like this. So no matter what you think about this idea, that is something being force-fed down your throat. It reminds me of, I never forget this, feeding my kids, my oldest when he was younger. I didn't know how to do the bottle feeding. So I was feeding him with the bottle. My wife would pump the milk or whatever, and I'd feed him the bottle at night so she could rest and whatever. And I was feeding him the bottle, and the milk would be coming out the side of his mouth, and like an idiot, I didn't realize I'm like drowning the kid until I think my wife saw me doing it. She was like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He's eating. I was force feeding him. It should have been at least where you don't see the milk coming out the side of his mouth. You don't do that when you're drinking. They're force feeding you the concept. That can't happen. I don't care what the idea is. That's a red flag. That's the clip. That's the clip I have from Eric July, who says, to avoid beating your ass in the future, we gotta beat your ass now.
In order to prevent us from whooping your ass in the future, we have to whoop your ass right now. This is psychopathic behavior.
That was from the pandemic. It's the exact same thing happening right now. Where did Eric July reply to? He was replying to Trudeau.
Mandates are the way to avoid further restriction.
15-minute cities are to avoid future problems. So we have to beat your ass now to avoid beating your ass down the road.
In order to prevent us from whooping your ass in the future, we have to whoop your ass right now. This is psychopathic behavior.
This right here is psychopathic behavior. When you object to the people who are supposed to be working for you and they don't answer the objections, they attach a label to you, that's a problem. Look at his face. That's not the face of a normal human being. So if somebody has objections, you listen to the objections. If you work, especially if you work for them.
Some of those outside. Some of those, let's be frank, let's call a spade a spade. Some of those outside are part of the far right. Some are COVID deniers. Some are vaccine deniers. And some are Tories.
Look, hang on. The mayor has a right to be heard, right? Don't, look, this people's...
This is about the 15-minute city. All of a sudden, the objections to the 15-minute city have all of a sudden become pandemic denier. Like, what does that have to do with this?
Question time is an opportunity for you to have a exchange of views, not to hackle or shout, please. Otherwise, we could end this very, very quickly.
You want these people in charge of your 15-minute city? You must be loco.
Now, to those people who've got legitimate concerns,
he decides what concerns are legitimate or not. I'm sorry our objections are bothering you. You look uncomfortable. I'm sorry that the concerns are making you uncomfortable. Don't pick your damn nose, answer the questions.
Fact, by the way, and in a fact, some of you have got good reasons to oppose ULEZ, but you're in coalition.
He's saying EULAs. So EULAs is, I'll do that. I'll play this clip and then go to EULAs.
With COVID deniers, you're in coalition. You may not like it. 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 You're in coalition with the far right. And you're in coalition with vaccine deniers as well.
My goodness. Whoa. That's like Star Wars darkness. That's like Darth Vader type, like, authoritarianism right there. What you're talking about with this ULEZ is these restrictions. So that's the concern that people have. It's these restrictions for these certain zones. Let me see if I can find a good article or clip to go over that. I was reading about that yesterday. People in the UK actually were protesting against it. And I think I'm going to go with this article. I can't find I actually searched Twitter to find a good little video. TikTok is actually becoming decent too. I don't know how some people get their TikToks through on these topics because I cannot. They banned me. TikTok gave me one last warning. It's like, if you talk about one more thing that we don't want you to talk about, it's a wrap. So I just don't mess with them too much. But this ULEZ is it's not a low, it's an ultra low emission zone. That's what it is.
What is the ULEZ and how many?
So let's take a look. Let's see. I have not seen this video, so I just want to explain what it is. Maybe this video will do it.
What is the ULEZ and how many Londoners will it affect? Well, the ultra-low emission zone is an area of London that more polluting vehicles have to pay to enter. It's a bit like the congestion charge zone, the C charge, only much bigger. And if Mayor Sadiq Khan gets his way, the ULEZ will cover all of Greater London by the end of August this year. Put simply, if you drive an older petrol or diesel car, you have to pay Transport for London £12.50 a day for every day you cross into or move within the ULEZ zone. The ULEZ was launched by Sadiq in 2019 in central London. 2.5 years later, it expanded up to the edge of the north and south circular roads. But the Mayor wants to expand it for a second time across all 33 London boroughs, effectively taking it up to the edge of the M25 motorway. Why does Sadiq Khan want to expand the ULEZ again? Well, in his mind, it's all about health. He wants to clean up London's air. He claims
it's for your health.
5 million more Londoners will breathe cleaner air if the ULEZ expands for a second time. Imperial said that ULEZ on its own was not an effective strategy to improve air quality and that it worked best alongside other policies to reduce emissions. Will the ULEZ expansion actually clean up London's toxic air? Well, this is the key issue, and
I don't even want to argue that, man. It comes from the people or it's not. And there's some good stuff. A lot of, my fat ass needed to ride a bike too, so still do. So I mean, I'm not going to say that these ideas are all bad, but does that sound organic to you? And do you believe it's about your health? He said, I want to do it because it's about your health. Did it look like he really cared about your health? Let me go over to Pappy Don. I have an article saved here. Pappy Don made a proposal, believe it or not, on this topic. It's adjacent to this topic, but Trump floats building freedom cities on federal land. And this story is from March 4th. This is through Axios. Former President Donald Trump proposed building freedom cities on federal land in a video highlighting some of his plans if he were elected. And let's go straight to Pappy Don and hear from his mouth. Like Bannon said, when Pappy speaks, Fox News, Murdoch, everybody, including myself, when Trump speaks, it is news. So let's go hear what he wants to say here.
Past generations of Americans pursued big dreams and daring projects that once seemed absolutely impossible. They pushed across an unsettled continent and built new cities in the wild frontier. They transformed American life with the interstate highway system. Magnificent it was. And they launched a vast network of satellites into orbit all around the earth. But today, our country has lost its boldness. Under my leadership, we will get it back in a very big way. If you look at just 3 years ago, what we were doing was unthinkable, how good it was, how great it was for our country. Our objective will be a quantum leap in the American standard of living. That's what will happen. Here are just a few of the ways we can do it. Almost 1/3 of the landmass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. In other words, we'll actually build new cities in our country again. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking families, a new shot at home ownership and, in fact, the American dream. Another big opportunity is in transportation. Dozens of major companies in the United States and China are racing to develop vertical takeoff and landing vehicles for families and individuals. Just as the United States led the automotive revolution in the last century, I want to ensure that America, not China, leads this revolution in air mobility. These breakthroughs can transform commerce, bring a giant infusion of wealth into rural America, and connect families in our country in new ways. Likewise, through our Strategic National Manufacturing Initiative, which is going to be very big and very, very successful, we will turn forgotten communities into hives of industry, producing the goods we will no longer import from China. We will also have a major initiative on lowering the cost of living with a special focus on lowering the cost of a new car and lowering the cost to build a single-family home. And they will be beautiful homes. And I will ask Congress to support baby bonuses for young parents to help launch a new baby boom. Finally, I'll challenge the governors of all 50 states to join me in a great modernization and beautification campaign, getting rid of ugly buildings, refurbishing our parks and our public spaces, making cities and towns more livable, ensuring a pristine environment, and building towering monuments to our true American heroes. Very importantly, I will also make sure all of these new places are safe. We love and cherish our police. They will do the job the way they have to. It is time to start talking about greatness for our country again. I will dramatically increase living standards and build a future that brings our country together through excitement, opportunity, and success. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I don't think Trump means anything bad with that. And he's not saying a 15-minute city necessarily. Very interesting stuff. He talked about flying cars. That was a graceful way of him saying we want to have basically, these flying cars are basically like drones that can have the weight of people in them. So he's talking about that kind of stuff. But on federal land, how does that structure work? Who's controlling that? You think we trust the federal government? The same government that undermines you? The same government that raided Mar-a-Lago? We don't have a fundamental base in our country for me to trust building cities on federal grounds in rural areas. To me, what my concern is, you're building a bunch of Washington, D.C.s and New York cities in the middle of red counties. It goes back to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she talked about the national divorce, which I'm all for. I think that's the answer to all this. It's basically decentralization. It's the same thing Eric July talks about, Michael Malice. It's along those lines. So I'm all for that. But how do you, why would you go to, so when you decentralize, you've got to take control of your states. So before you did anything that Trump talked about there, you got to break up from the federal government. And that land can't be federal land. That's got to be state land. And say, hey, the state of Georgia, Georgia's a perfect example. 2 Democrat senators, you got problems. You're not a red state. And you look at Fulton County, that's a blue county. You've got to get not just red state, you got to get MAGA red, and you've got to control the counties. Just like Maricopa County in Arizona, they can't stay there. So you've got to control your state first and have it a MAGA. Not that everybody has to agree, but you have to have close enough fundamental agreement on certain things to have every county. That you can't have the divide that we have between the red county, the MAGA red, and the blue counties with all the people in them. So I like Trump. I don't think he means anything too negative by that. But you see my problem with you don't acknowledge the issue with the administrative state and how they undermined you. Has he ever said anything bad about Dr. Fauci? Has Pappy said anything bad about Dr. Fauci? Maybe he has. I haven't heard it. I've only heard good things. He let me call him Tony. If he doesn't understand the problems there, then how can he talk about building up new cities in rural areas? Slow your roll. Slow down. And maybe we can get there. So that's let me look at the comments here. There's some of my thoughts here. Ken and Hotep, oh, what's up, man? We got YouTube royalty up in the chat. Check out Ken and Hotep, has a great channel. Says the way the guy was talking seemed like he wouldn't oppose to a roundup. Wait till carbon credits hit. That's a great transition. Thank you for the super chat, Ken and Hotep. Appreciate you stopping by. The great transition. Here's what ties it all together. It ties it all, everything. And this is from the WEF website. If I can find, I got so many links here. Let me see if I can find it. It is the digital, well, the WEF has talked about the 15-minute city concept, and they've also talked about all the other concepts that tie it all together. When he talks about carbon credits, what he's saying is you tie it into carbon credits, you get an allotment of so many carbon credits per month or day or however they want to do it, and you can't drive a gas car anymore. You can't, everything has a carbon footprint. Maybe you can't use your laptop. Who knows? Your laptop has a carbon footprint to it. I mean, I haven't heard that, but there's no restriction to where that could go. So let me look at it here. Let me try to stall while I try to find it. I do have this. I think this is a video here. I do want to show this graphic. She does a great job here. So let's play this video. I'm going to play this video.
Says, and the technologies that they want to use within these 15-minute cities and what they actually mean. So this is basically off the Canada website called Infrastructure Canada Interactive Map. All of these little dots are proposed 15-minute cities, and all of the colors within these dots represent how much money, prize money there is for each city if basically completed. So I'm just going to click on one of them just as an example. Okay, let's look at the town of Olds, Alberta. Basically, back in 2016, they did a census on 9,184 residents, and they agreed that they wanted 15-minute cities, and their prize category, if they finish it, is $5 million. That means they're...
So you see the payoff is coming. It's not organic from the people. The payoff is coming from up above these federal governments. I mean, this is not America, but same concept, federal money. You do the smart city, you get money. That's coming from the top down. It's not people voting for it. It's not people advocating for it.
They're not guaranteed said $5 million. All of this stuff is coming from our tax money. And basically, let's see if we click on the challenge statement to see some details of the technologies they want to use. So this is basically some of the details that they want to do. And I like how they have emergency services and...
She pulled this from the Canadian website. So she went straight to the Canadian website to say, okay, what are these cities about? What's going on? And she has a list here: economic development, education, training, technologies, AI. How about AI? Imagine, and you see AI is all woke. ChatGPT, you can't ask ChatGPT about certain things. It'll be like, no, that's not woke. Basically, it'll be like, that's not woke enough. Artificial intelligence, assistive technology, big data and analytics, cloud computing, geospatial, all that kind of stuff. Here's the actual tie-in that I wanted to show. Is a graphic. This graphic spells it out perfectly, exactly what Ken and Hotep was talking about. This is from the WEF website. Digital identity is the central focus point, and that goes entities, people, devices, things. So there's a circle graph here. Healthcare, for users to access insurance treatment, to monitor health devices, wearables, to care providers, to demonstrate their qualifications. So your Fitbit will soon, you'll basically have a Fitbit reporting back to the government. Financial services, to open bank accounts, to carry out online financial transactions. So you don't care that they canceled Ye. What they want to do to Ye is what they want to do to me, what they did to Nick Fuentes. They want to do to me, you, everybody else. They want to be able to cancel everyone who doesn't fit. Food and sustainability for farmers, consumers, to verify provenance of produce, obviously for the environment. Are your cows farting too much? Maybe you need to call them. Travel and mobility, to book trips, to go through border control between countries or regions. Humanitarian response, to access services, to demonstrate qualifications. So this basically QR codes to be able to do all this stuff. E-commerce, to shop. Have you seen the Amazon? I believe it's the Amazon Whole Foods stores, where to get into there's nobody that works in the store. You just go in the store, you pick up the food, and you walk out, but it's all tied into your fingerprint, your phone. So, hey, you say the wrong things, who knows? You get canceled. social platforms, we already know about that. E-government for citizens to access and use services, file taxes, vote, collect benefits, telecommunications for users to own, to use devices, and service providers to monitor devices, smart cities. They tied it all in here. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's right there. They don't really hide anymore what they do, because it's hard to hide stuff in this age. They just want to control the flow of the information. So let me know what you think. I'll go to some random topics here that were just on my mind over the last couple days. Joe Biden, this issue with the stairs, man, it's funny, but it's not funny. There's another video, believe it or not, a new video of him tripping walking up the stairs. The man that's going to take us, is taking us to the brink of World War III.
Given the salute there before he boards Air Force One, just like that, he touched down not even 4 hours ago.
He tripped. This is the third incident that I'm aware of this bruh tripping going up the stairs. Here it is.
He touched down not even.
Like, you would think he'd be extra careful at this.
Given the salute there before he boards Air Force One, just like that, he touched down.
And it's so awkward because they're commenting while they're showing the video, and they don't acknowledge that he tripped and damn near fell on his face again.
Not even 4 hours ago.
Why is he tripping going up the stairs? If it just happened once, it'd be no big deal. Everybody trips, falls, and stuff like this is the fifth time he's tripped going up the stairs. The first time, remember, he tripped. I think that was 3 trips in one. Then there was the second incident he tripped going up the stairs. Then this is the third one now. Every single time he tries to look careful going up, he trips. Just damn embarrassing at this point. Trips for the whole country, not just him. Forget about him. This is one of the most embarrassing moments for the United States of America. We have a president that just can't walk up the stairs. Bro, you can go slower. You don't have to. But then after he trips, every single time he tries to do the jog. It's just like every Biden gaffe. He tries to make up for it. Remember when he was like, stand up, Chuck? There was that, I forgot who it was, but the dude was a paraplegic in a wheelchair. And that's Rush Limbaugh used to play it damn near every show. So Biden is introducing the dude. The dude is confined to a wheelchair. And Biden should know that. He's in the wheelchair. So Biden says, where's Chuck? Stand up, Chuck. And everybody's like, ugh. The bro can't stand up. He is a paraplegic. And then after he does it, he's like, oh, Chuck, don't stand up, Chuck. We'll stand up for you or something like that to play it off. He does that. He does the jog. So watch him break into a jog after he tripped for the 5th time that I've seen walking up the stairs. So he trips and then he tries. Don't do that, bro. We done seen it too. I can't lie. I would do the same thing. Like I'm okay. It was just a trip. So you just kind of try to pick up your pace a little bit. So he's like, oh, there's the jog, and then he can't jog too much. Everybody's like, don't jog too long because you're gonna trip again. Now that's gonna be really embarrassing. So he trips, and then he goes into the jog. Biden versus the steps. Trip every single time. Trip, and he looks the same when he trips. He's like, ooh. He tries to jog. And then does he turn around and wave? Yeah, they didn't show it, but then he does. That's probably really embarrassing when the 5th time you've tripped up the stairs, and every time you have to turn around and wave like nothing happened. This is unbelievable, man. Somebody posted Beau Biden was right. No, Maze, one of my favorite follows on Twitter. Maze is just so. I have a whole separate list just for Maze videos. Here's Maze. Here's Maze's response to this.
Hi, my name is Beau Biden, Attorney General of the state of Delaware. Here to talk to you about something that's very important to me and to my office, senior abuse. For every one of these types of crimes that's reported to our office, 5 go unreported. But 2 million senior Americans are affected every year. And 80% of these crimes are committed by family members against their so-called loved one. We need your help. Seniors need your help. So if you suspect that anyone is affected by any of these crimes, please contact our elder abuse hotline at 1-800-223-9074.
Come on, man.
I'm sorry, man. I think C3P meme is one of my favorites. I might have to say Maze is the GOAT. For me, like, I don't know them all, but Maze is just always on point to me. I love all the memers. I'm gonna tweet it right now. Maze is the GOAT. Because I think his style just fits. Like, he does the memes that I would want to do if I were funny, witty, and had the time. If I were somebody other than myself. Oh, man, he's so good. Yeah, I think you need the stairs. It's okay. I think that'd be less embarrassing than tripping. This meme was funny. What? Can I not? Okay. So this meme was funny. Biden's in the corner being held back by a little girl away from the stairs. I don't know where that meme originated from, but everybody's dying. Somebody brought up Trump when he kind of looked kind of awkward going down the ramp, which he did, but that was like one incident. Don't trip on me, bro. The memesters are just everything right now. People are trying to do pro-Biden memes. The classic...
Like that, he touched down.
The classic Trump golf swing hitting Biden in the neck and then him tripping. This is from my generation. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Man, that's our president. You know, in the before times when I was blue-pilled, I would have said, never, don't ever make fun of our president. Now I'm like, I'm all here for it, like promoting it, laughing with it. And I will continue to do so until we have somebody that's worthy of our respect. Let me know what you think about that one. I can't believe he fell. When I saw it, I was like, there's no way it's a new incident. There's no way. Let's talk about Nikki. Young Nick Fuentes got kicked out of CPAC again. They just keep kicking this bro out of CPAC. I don't know what. I haven't been in a Nick Live in a minute. It's probably been about a month. I've been going to bed earlier, and my schedule's all messed up. I'm a big Nick Fuentes fan. You know, that doesn't mean I agree with everything, obviously, but I think he's very much needed. The real Bryson Gray tweets Nick Fuentes getting kicked out of CPAC. We all knew he would be kicked out of CPAC. There's no surprise there. I'm surprised the video didn't come out earlier. Friend of the show, Mr. Ignoramus, he had a video where he had shown Nick, I believe, when Nick arrived at CPAC, which was a cool video. And I'll show some pictures here from Stephen Ignoramus's feed. He's a Nick Fuentes type guy. Wait, what was that? You didn't block. Wow. Okay, well, I'll do the direct link to the tweet here. Cool picture, him to see Nick and Stephen. You know what I like about Stephen Ignoramus is that, what is going on? That he really does his work, man. Like he's a street journalist, funny commentator, and very knowledgeable. But here's a picture with friend of the show, Stephen Ignoramus with Nick Fuentes. That's a dope picture. America first. Like to see that, man. He said, I'm the rich, misunderstood uncle of the American First movement. He's so funny, man. He's like a stand-up comedian, man. He should do stand-up comedy. He's that funny. He had a video showing the Nick walking in to CPAC. He's reporting from CPAC. I want to kind of collect all his videos. Not only that, he had Forgiato Blow at CPAC. So it almost like he's like the real reporter of CPAC. Like, these are the CPAC videos nobody saw. Was this at CPAC? Yeah, this was at CPAC. These are like the CPAC videos that they wouldn't show, like even on like the alt networks.
Really show me that facts. Democrats gonna tell me how you feel about that. Who won Trump? The ballot's 45, the chosen one.
I'm gonna stop before he gets me banned. But I'm a fan of Forgiato Blow. Found out about him through what's his name, Bryson Gray and others. Bryson Gray started a new website. I got to do a video on that. It's a pretty big deal. But more stuff from Stephen Ignoramus. He commented on CPAC. This kind of turned into a CPAC commentary here, but that's fine with me. This is an interesting commentary here. I think this is a fair question. Mr. Ignoramus says, until this is banned and Nick Fuentes is allowed, then CPAC 23 will never be conservative. I need help understanding what, I know conservative means to conserve. I don't know. I just really have a hard time wrapping. I understand libertarianism. For me, libertarianism is just peace, prosperity, and decentralization is what libertarianism is to me. I don't understand what conservatism is. I can't concisely explain that. So libertarian rattled it off quickly. That's what libertarianism is. I don't know what conservative is, but I guess what it is, I guess what it isn't is conserving whatever this is, which I have no problem with this. It's more about your what your ideas are. And if you're not watching, this is somebody in drag at CPAC. But what he's saying is he's not even speaking out against that as much as saying, well, they hauled out Nick Fuentes from CPAC, but they didn't haul this out of CPAC. He's just like, how do you reconcile that? I don't know. It's a good question. Somebody tell me. I don't want anybody hauled out that's not, trolling the stuff. And I don't know if Nick was or not, but that's not why Nick was hauled out. I know why Nick was hauled out. I'll tell you. But it looked like there was a lot of empty rooms. Like when Don Jr. spoke, it looked like they had trouble getting rooms or something like that. But Nick Fuentes wasn't the only one getting kicked out of CPAC. They kick out anybody that they don't agree. Well, here's what it is. They kick out anybody they don't agree with, is what it is, and they can't control. Friend of the show also got a picture with Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's an interesting one because I don't know how he feels about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Definitely the Groyper group is not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene, even though she had a great speech there. Sad to see that fall out. But it's Marjorie Taylor Greene's fault. He said that Marjorie Taylor Greene saw his hoodie and said, God made the rainbow. Pretty base. So I don't know. I haven't asked him about what he thinks about Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's a picture of Stephen Ignoramus with Marjorie Taylor. Marjorie looks good. He got a good picture of her on there. And here is him saying hello to Nick Fuentes. I'm going to end with my take on this after this one. Here, this is Stephen, if you don't know, Stephen Ignoramus right there. And here's a video of him. There's a picture of him, or a video. I don't know if Nick's face is going to show in this one or not, but him saying what's up, shaking Nick's hand.
Yeah, big fan, man. Good to meet you, man. Yeah, what's up, bro?
I would like to note here, though, what is Nick wearing? You know what those boots are, though, right? I'm not here to, I'm a Nick, I like Nick a lot, but it doesn't mean I agree with him all the time. I'm not here to put on any knee pads for nobody. So Nick can get this heat too whenever he needs to get it. Nick, why are you wearing Balenciaga boots? What's the deal with that, my nigga? He's wearing the same Balenciaga boots. Nick, holla at your boy, explain it to me. There it is right there. I'm not making it up. This is through Stephen Ignoramus. Those are the same Balenciaga boots. I know they're expensive. Those those moccasins or whatever they call those galoshes, those ugly ass galoshes. Now they're stylish because y'all rocking it stylish. That's okay. But help explain to me what's going on with that.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
I what?
In the background, there's people yelling, Nick, you're gay, Nick, you're Nick. And there's this big thing about, is Nick gay or not? I don't care. What does it matter? Now, I know it's contradictory to what he, to some of the things he talks about, but so I couldn't care less. I mean, it doesn't matter. I want to know about the substance of what he's saying. And if you want to say he's a hypocrite or not, okay, whatever. Who's not a hypocrite? So I don't care. There was rumors he was online he was on the live rumors. I don't know if they were substantiated or not, but he was online looking at trans prawn. Okay. So what? We're all, nobody's perfect. Everybody's a sinner. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. But somebody's yelling, "Nick, you're gay."
You're gay, Nick. We're here for pictures.
And then he says, "Just admit it." It kind of reminds me of the Jonathan Majors and Michael. Is it Michael B. Jordan picture? Like I had no problem with them being, if they are, no problems with it. It's just weird because they haven't announced that they are, but then they release those pictures. So, but the reason I bring that up is they're trying to use it as a derogatory, and I guess it's more fitting against Nick because he kind of portrays himself like anti that because he's so religious or whatever. But they're yelling at him. He's getting heckled.
Let's go, dude. All right.
You look great, man.
Thanks.
Dripped out.
You do.
I mean, he's a rock star. I mean, he has the rock star. Like, I couldn't pull that look off. He has it. I've never seen a nerd pull off like this rock star. Like, he's a cult following type. I mean, it's very important actually, because I don't know if he still rocks with Ye or not, because I haven't listened to at least a month or two ago he was, but I don't know. I've heard people say he doesn't rock with Ye anymore. I don't know. It's kind of funny he's wearing those Balenciaga boots, but he's got a Ye type of style going, but he's got his own style with the glasses, all black, coat, and all that. That matters. I mean, that's how you cut through the noise. That's what really makes him dangerous. It's not his takes. Anybody could have Nick's takes. His takes aren't what makes him dangerous. That's gotta suck though, having to travel everywhere with bodyguards, man.
Alex Roncelli, just want to say I'm a big fan. I don't think I sent that super chat. You got to make me happy. What's up?
So I think that's when he rolled up at CPAC, and then how it ended is he got his ass kicked out of CPAC. What happened with AFPAC? Any Nick fans? I don't know. I didn't hear why. Maybe was he messing with Ye too much and didn't do AFPAC 4? Is he doing the AFPAC 4? Typically, it was at the same time as CPAC, but I would rather have him done a AFPAC 4. But who knows? That's a big undertaking. Easy for me to say. I didn't expect to talk about that long, but interesting stuff from young Nick. But my end take on that is he's kicked out of CPAC because he's not under anybody's control. He's too independent and he's too influential. That's why he got kicked out of CPAC. You can't control him. You don't know what he's going to say about this group or that group or whatever. So that's why they had to boot him out of there. I don't respect that though. As long as you're not, it's the same as like a chat. Like, I don't care if you disagree with me, as long as you're not like, doing something, spamming the chat or something like that. But it is a private event. They can kick him out. Don't get me wrong. But I don't respect it. And it's a fair question Bryson asked and all that. Well, you've got these people in here that have different views, and you don't have this person in there. It makes you wonder. I do want to cover actually the Bryson Gray stuff. Bryson Gray has a new website. I'm gonna go to his YouTube page. I actually haven't signed up yet. I gotta sign up for it. Definitely gotta sign up because he's releasing an album on it. And let me show you the news here. I'm very in tune with what guys like, even though I've kind of soured a little bit on Jeremy from the Quartering. There's no question about his marketing prowess. His prowess in marketing is unquestioned. The dude is genius. What a smart marketer he is. But let me go to the Bryson Gray community page to talk about his website here. Bryson Gray community page. Tyson James and I released our collab album called All CCG, and it's only available on allccg.com. I play a lot of Bryson Gray stuff, and least I could do is shut the bra up if I'm a fan, and I am, and have a little bit of a platform to be able to talk about it. And he has a website, and he's a very good marketer, very brilliant marketer. Let's go take a look at the website. They're releasing it. Hey, if you're a fan of Tyson James, Bryson Gray, find one of these Hulus or whatever, cancel them, finish your Mandalorian, cancel, or if you can just afford it, go buy and help a brother out. He's been canceled in so many different places. He's like, we got to do our own thing. We've got influence, and this is it, all CCG. And he's very well done. Very, very well done. You see this website's going to do well. You see them pooling their followings together, resources together. It'd be dope if they could get 4G out of Blow on there. I don't know, he has his own thing. I don't want to just put people into stuff, but you could see this being built out to like something good. This is what like Tim Pool was talking about with like, could you do something? Remember that episode if you watched Tim Pool when Crowder was on there? What a great episode. They were talking about, well, could you do something with Tim Pool and Crowder on the same website? And they were just talking through it. A lot of people didn't like that episode because it felt like they were talking about how elitist they were. They're talking about how to navigate this stuff. And that was priceless information. Imagine if you could have Tim Pool and Steven Crowder on the same website, pooling their resources. That's what you're seeing here with Bryson Gray and Tyson. Again, it's allccg.com. The albums are going to be pretty much exclusive there is what it looks like. And what you're seeing is before they're both big in this realm, but I like to see them team up before they get too big that you can't. Because that's what Tim Pool and Steven Crowder were basically talking about. It all summed up to we're both too big to work together. That's what it all came down to. And I'm like, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all, but I can't tell them they're wrong. They're way more knowledgeable than me, but it is easier. Obviously, these are two big followings in this Christian rap space, but they're pooling together. Like Tom McDonald's not pooling his website together with another dude. I know he did the stuff with Calhoun, but they're not like doing this type of stuff. Tom McDonald's too big. So before they get that big for them to be working on this, you could expand this to politics, to everything. Shout out to Bryson Gray, man. I'm a big supporter. I like what you're doing here. I like everything that this dude does. I got to listen to his live where he was talking about there's this whole debate. I'll transition to another topic. Have y'all noticed on the non-right or even MAGA side, there's a larger push showing videos of black people doing negative things to white people, or just black people doing negative things in general, but most likely fight videos, a lot of them like world star hip hop type stuff. And my take on it is the videos are what they are. I mean, either the video is real or it's a deep fake. Assuming the videos are real, they are what they are. The conclusions you build from them it is interesting though, because the concern of it is, and even Scott Adams mentioned it in his infamous video. He said, every day I look at a new video of a black person doing something to a white person, basically. And you got to be careful. That's the exact same thing that the left did with the Black Lives Matter stuff. They pumped out videos of white cops doing something that you could have looked at as bad to white people. And when they did that, I was like, the video is what it is, but I caution you to project that to that's like everyday reality. With these, I'm open to it being that, but the videos are anecdotal, that they don't prove anything. And it is a discussion worth having. Has anybody else noticed that? It's a Twitter thing. I don't really go on Facebook or these other platforms. Twitter's actually operating slower to me. which is weird. It's been slower than normal to me. But I said it's a discussion worth having. It's a discussion worth having. Let me show you the tweets here so we can just broach the topic. I'm not making any conclusions either way, but I bring it up because Bryson Gray did a live, I think, on it. I haven't seen it yet. I got to go back to see it to do a separate reaction to it. But Adam Coleman on Twitter talked about it. Uncle Hotep talked about it too. I'd be curious to see what Canon Hotep thinks about it too. I haven't been in his live recently. He probably has talked about it. But right-wing Twitter lately has basically turned into world star hip-hop, and not nearly enough people find this suspicious, and so the PSYOP continues. It's a discussion worth having. I don't know if it's PSYOP. I don't think it is, but it could be. Adam was basically saying, hey, I think it satisfies many people, but I think there's a stronger influence coming from actual white supremacists to further the racial divide. The right is ripe for manipulation because they adamantly reject mainstream narratives, so they easily believe alternatives. That is true. Then I include myself in that as well. I'm not going to say any conclusion here. My quote tweet to that was, I also said, hey, the videos are what they are. So I'm not, that's what Libs at TikTok does. Libs of TikTok takes videos that are what they are, and we have to think through this stuff critically to figure out, well, is this a concern? How widespread is this really? But it is a conversation worth having. So Tom Buckley said that looks like he saw the pushback on the narrative. I need to see that. But it is. I don't know. I'll just leave it there. It's a conversation definitely worth having. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that recently. Some people said it's been like that. To me, it seems like it's been an uptick, but maybe it's just my feed. That's why I think the algorithm is so important. We don't know what. The Twitter algorithm could be benefiting, making those go viral, including it. Scott Adams had a tweet he said something to the effect of, I should have the tweet. I retweeted it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Scott Adams has been based since he kind of went Michael Douglas falling down. He's been based. He's nothing to lose. What I got to lose? Y'all canceled everything. So you're going to get this truth. That's what you're going to get. Scott Adams said, America monetizes dishonesty and racial division through algorithms, maybe. The algorithms are not public. What video goes viral? Promoting peace doesn't go viral. So we monetize, not only promote it, we monetize dishonesty and racial division, and then we act surprised when we end up with more of it. The least profitable news content is the truth about anything. I've never seen Scott Adams more based than he's been now. I wonder if his pandemic takes have changed too, because he seems like a different person altogether. In a good way. So you look at Tim Pool. That's one of the things that's fascinating about Tim Pool to me, is that he is milquetoast basically. He has legitimate. Tim Pool's great, but he's not a radical or anything like that. He doesn't promote division or anything like that. How do you go viral? In a weird way, I don't know how, but sometimes people help you go viral. Did you see this? The Lincoln Project tweeted this meme of Tim Pool. They said the average Right Stuff user. So I'm laughing at the meme because it is funny to see Tim Pool, they just made him overweight. But the meme isn't funny in and of itself. If you're just listening, it's Tim Pool doing a Fox hit, and they just made his face, made him gain like 100 pounds, basically. So he doesn't even look the same, but he has the beanie on, fat face, beard. And it says, woke agenda ended my sex life. So the funny part, the picture of him is funny, but the meme itself makes no sense. It's not funny at all. So Tim replied to it, quote tweeted, said, after deciding to vote for Biden in 2024, I lost 30 pounds and began having lots of sex. Thanks, Lincoln Project. Find out how voting blue no matter who will make you get hot and get you laid. That's a good response by Tim. There is a context under this. That wasn't when I saw this. The image comes from a Fox News interview from August 2021. It appears to be altered. It appears to be altered. What kind of context is that? It's obviously altered. Appears to be altered with a fake title. The appearance of Tim Pool has also been altered. Okay, they were definitive on that part. The original video can be found here. So the context overall is helpful. My reply to it, I replied under Tim. I'll end with my reply here. I said, that Lincoln Project pic making fun of Tim is the perfect example of how the left can't meme. It made no sense. It's projection. Obviously, you can say a lot of people who went left got fatter, uglier, whatever. You don't see that as much the other way. It's projection, and it wasn't funny at all. But it made me think of it because Tim finds a way to go viral. He was trending for that. If you're trending, you're winning, period. And he finds a way to cut through the noise even while being milquetoast. It's really amazing. So Tim is happy about that. I guarantee you Tim is happy about that meme going viral. He probably talked I haven't heard his videos today. He probably talked about that. Let me know what you think about that. Oh, some people are arguing that the Lincoln Project wasn't left. I don't know why you would argue that. Maybe ignorance. When I say left, not like a populist left. The populist left gets pissed off when I say the left because they want to be the left. You got to define yourselves, guys. You guys don't brand yourself. You're not relevant culturally. So what do you want me to do? It's not my fault. I don't mean you all when I say the left, though. This picture was interesting. Governor DeSantis drew a huge crowd in California. Sorry. The crowd is massive at Governor DeSantis's book tour event in California. Official attendance is at 1,300 plus. He packed the arena in California. What a beautiful background. If you're not seeing this, they're at some type of convention center looking thing with glass wall, and you're seeing mountains and greenery. It looks amazing. Ron DeSantis packing them. I did a video where I talked about the CPAC poll and DeSantis only got 20%. I think it is actually tighter than that. He hasn't even announced yet. So some people say, when is 1,300 massive? It's significant. Trump gets 10 to 20,000 for most rallies, 50 to 60. I don't know if he gets that much. But yeah, he can pull more. But 1,300 is significant. Yeah, you're right. If the 1,300 is massive for DeSantis, then Trump trumps that for sure. But it's still, Alex Shepard said maybe he should run as a Democrat. The MAGA, it's not a MAGA civil war because DeSantis isn't MAGA, but the battle continues, man. It is heated. I don't know if it means anything, but I just noted it. A lot of stuff going on. I saved a couple articles where they were talking about the bugs. My goodness, the bugs. They really want you and I to eat these bugs. They're not going to give up with that. They're not going to give up until the bugs are eaten. This is from a while ago. I just found out about it recently that IKEA, they got those meatballs. I'm not a big fan of the IKEA meatballs. I don't know if anybody else is. I'm not a big fan of them personally. But if I'm not a big fan of the meatballs now, then I'm really not going to be a big fan of the mealworm meatballs. Bon appetit. They've got meatballs that are going to be made out of mealworms. This is going back 4 years. I just never knew about it. And I think this was brought up by I don't know if it was the WEF, but there's a video here that went viral talking about it recently. So they're bringing it back up in the news. I'm going to get to that ice cream in a second. But wait, what am I doing here? I keep bringing up the ice cream article, and I mean to bring up the meatballs. So here's the meatball video that's been going viral recently, even though this is not a new topic. The video says, they always have that spooky music in the background. The video says IKEA is experimenting with new meatballs. To read it exactly, they're experimenting with insect meatballs, and there's mealworms squiggling around. Yummy. And that is WEF branded at the top. To my knowledge, this is a direct WEF video. IKEA is experimenting with insect meatballs. Yummy. I wonder what the texture is. To make people think about how much meat they eat. And encourage people to try alternative proteins. The new mealworm meatballs are developed by Space 10. I talked about this in another video here, but I'm going to tie it into some ice cream in a second. Its test kitchen is developing many alternatives to popular foods, including bug burgers, salads grown with hydroponics, that's without soil. So here's the part I didn't talk about, is the ice cream. This, how yummy is this, y'all? Morning spice. You can put a little bit of spice in your ice cream. German ice cream parlor introduces cricket flavor scoops. And I think, I kind of like a crunch factor with my ice cream. Like I'll put walnuts or almonds or some type of nuts on them. Just for the crunch factor. They got a different idea for their crunch factor. German ice cream parlor introduces cricket flavored scoops. Yummy. Got a cricket on top of it. It looks like a maple. I like the maple flavor. I like maple flavored ice cream. Forget that summertime favorite bug juice. A German eatery is adding bugs to ice cream. Crickets to be exact. Es Cafe Reno in the southern city of Rottenburg, that's an appropriately named city, introduced cricket-flavored ice cream topped with the dried insects themselves this week. The owner created a delicacy and proudly posed with it on Instagram. We've literally been inundated with lots of criticism. I'm not criticizing y'all. It looks wonderful. I won't partake, though. Lots of compliments, lots of surprises, and lots of curiosity about our new cricket flour ice cream. He said in the post, he said he worked on the confection all winter, creating it on a bet and didn't introduce it without fear of repercussion. It's a small message for the food that could be the future. And as you can see, I'm showing a picture with all the yummy little cricket babies and nothing like eating ice cream and then needing a toothpick to kind of get the little bit of hair, the little insect hairs out of your teeth. You got a little cricket. Oh, there's something in your teeth. Something in between your teeth. You just had some ice cream? I think it's like a cricket antennae. Antenna. I think it's an antenna from a cricket. Or maybe that's a cricket leg caught up in your teeth. I hate when that happens. But it might have an earthy taste to it. I've eaten a lot of things, including a lot of strange things, and crickets were something I still wanted to try. The recipe consists of cricket flour, heavy cream, and vanilla extract and honey. Probably tastes good on the real. Although he admits unusual frozen treat has garnered lots of criticism, there are also many daring consumers who give the flavor a taste. I eat a lot of stuff. I would probably try a scoop just for the hell of it. I eat shrimp. What's the difference? Really? Probably won't be a major part of my diet. They're trying to basically slow roll this thing. Remember there was that video of, was it Nicole Kidman? Was it Nicole Kidman eating bugs? And she was like, yummy. This is one of my favorite. This video is unbelievable. If I can find it. Yep, I got it. Here you go. This is the entertainment business trying to get you along that path. I'm Nicole Kidman. You're Nicole Kidman, and she's all plastic surgeryed up. Used to be very attractive, and now she looks like a fake person, but here she is.
I'm Nicole Kidman, and I am going to eat a full-course meal of bugs. I am here to reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock,
Yummy.
hornworms.
She's got hornworms. They look like a nice aqua green color.
They're
She got the chopstick. This is sophisticated. That's why you use the chopsticks. This is not for peasants.
still alive.
Tell me that's not sexy. She put it in her mouth. The thing's still wiggling. I don't think that's what they meant when they said put it in your mouth.
Extraordinary.
It didn't sound extraordinary. It sounded disgusting. Look at her face. Does that look like it was extraordinary? You think she's going to do that in the privacy of her own home? She's eating steak.
Extraordinary.
That crunch was nasty.
Very moist, chewy, quite.
That's the perfect word. That's what we all like, is something moist.
I can't describe the flavor, but I need a little water.
I can't describe the flavor. I need a little water. That sounds like it was nasty as hell, is what it sounds like.
Let's try the second course, shall we?
I wonder if they substituted like a gummy bear or something and did an edit.
Just a little side note. 2 billion people in the world eat.
There it is. There's the selling point again. As a side note, 2 billion people in the world eat bugs. What did that got to do with me? I'm one of the billion that don't.
And I'm one of them. Because here we go. Have some mealworms.
Okay, there you go. You see how she had to put the tongue up there? That's nice. Go get
Telling
make
you,
it sexy.
I'd win Survivor.
Don't pan out. I want to make sure you ate it. And then afterwards, I want to make sure you didn't Ralph it up.
That is a fruity taste. I'd recommend it. Here we have.
That's what I want for my mealworms, a fruity taste.
Oh, crickets. Oh, nothing.
Oh, yeah, that's nothing. Oh, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, yeah, they're wonderful.
Like nothing you've ever tasted. Like a hairy.
That's what I like. I love hairy foods. No, that's nothing. Look at her face.
A hairy nut.
Oh, yeah.
Don't. Oh my gosh. A nut from the shell.
A hairy nut from the shell.
And now, for dessert, the fried grasshopper. These are amazing. These are exquisite
I'm sure they are.
grasshoppers. I recommend them to anyone. Thank you for spending so much time with me.
Thank you. This is Sam Harris recently said that he basically said that we should have like a gatekeep for like overlords to tell society what to do. And that's what he means is stuff like that. He wants information, he wants the narrative to be gatekept to make sure that you listen to us. Sam Harris is, and he's supposed to be some part of some type of intellectual group. He deleted his Twitter. I believe did he delete his Twitter? I forget. He's getting a lot of flack. Yeah, who cares what Sam Harris says, but it does tie into this whole stuff here. Sam Harris, at least by this person's account, I haven't double checked it. I honestly don't care. Sam Harris deleted Twitter for reasons, but seems like he can no longer control voicing his ego to a wide audience. In the last hour, and this was from February 21st, he has posted a criminal number of cringe posts on Instagram. If he thought he was safe from ridicule on Instagram, he was wrong. Some examples from Sam Harris. The only people who think Twitter is the public square are those who are addicted to it. Sam Harris. And that might be true because some people are ignorant. There's some truth to that because the people who don't use it don't know what's going on. They're not engaged. That doesn't mean they're wrong, but that's a perfect Sam Harris quote. And Sam Harris, he's on here and he thought it was a mic drop. He thought it was a mic drop. Somebody said Sam is having a manic episode today. He just got flamed on Instagram. And he said, he's just getting smashed in the comments. He said, no one has a constitutional right to algorithmically boosted speech. When you post something on social media, you are not merely sharing your opinion with the rest of the world. And again, another conflation with it. I think the algorithm should be in the control of the people. Your opinion is being fed into an outrage machine, and it will be amplified or not based on a business model that preferentially feeds on inflammatory and misleading information, because this spreads more reliably than anything else. And the people in the comments just flamed him. He just kept going. He didn't stop. Sam Harris on Instagram, during the pandemic, we witnessed the birth of a new religion. I agree with that. What are you going to talk about? Maybe we agree, Sam. No. He said there was a new religion of contrarianism. That's the first time I've heard that. And conspiracy thinking. The first sacrament of which is to do your own research. God forbid you do your own research. Sam Harris is saying, okay, so I see Nicole Kidman eating grasshoppers. I want to do my own research on does that make sense or not. Sam Harris says, no, that's a conspiracy theory. You're being a contrarian. In fact, you're in a new religion. And I'll wear it proudly. I'm now in a new religion called contrarianism. Yeah, that's where I'm at, because I do my own research. The problem is that very few people are qualified to do this research. And the result is a society driven by strongly held, unfounded opinions on everything from the V safety to the war in the sunflower country. So Sam Harris says if you do your own research, you're a victim of a religion. Somebody said, imagine posting some ish like this, Sam, when it turns to those said people were correct, the people who are in the contrarian religion, proven correct on the pandemic, Sam Harris proven incorrect, and the V's, and you still want to smear them in 2023 because they didn't choose what you wanted them to. Keep it up, Sam. We're all waiting for you to come around to reality. What a terrible take, especially in light of everything that's come out as true over the last few months. He's going to die on that hill. He wants to die on that hill, that's for sure. What's up, Berserker? Thanks for stopping by. Just rambling at this point. Just rambling because I can on the interwebs. It's enjoyable. I can't have the time. Just continuing to ramble and ramble and ramble. I think the last topic I'm going to go on is MAGA again. And I did a video recently about MAGA, and there's a couple topics some people gave me feedback on. This person, Relapse RPG, said, I think I get what you're saying here. I'd assert, however, that if MAGA is bigger than, more than Trump, then MAGA needs to do a better job of making that known. Not sure why anyone would come to that conclusion otherwise. And I had a very quick, simple reply. Agreed. And that's one of the criticism I have of MAGA. You've got to make sure that Trump, and MAGA does a fairly good job of it. They're not like Biden supporters that will agree with anything he does. MAGA's booed him before when he brought the Johnson & Johnsons down at the rallies, talked about the medical treatment that didn't work as it should have, but he touted as if it was the greatest thing ever. He got booed there too. At least they did that, but I don't think MAGA does a good enough job of keeping Trump in check. You need to do a better job of that. And especially with the pandemic time, we need a debrief. I'm not against Trump. I did a whole live talking about the administrative state was treasonous to him, against him. So you got one man against the whole thousands of employees led by Fauci and others. So I'm not blaming him, but my problem with him is we never got a debrief. Now that you had the pandemic, we saw what happened. What's the debrief? What did you learn? What do you take? What lessons do you take to the next situation? We never got that from him. In fact, he's still touting it, and that's a problem. And MAGA has not done a good enough job of clarifying. So instead of forcing him to clarify that, some people in MAGA are navigating to DeSantis, which if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but you're not holding that man accountable. That's what needs to be done more than anything. Another thing that came out of that comment, When I just talked about MAGA versus Trump versus DeSantis, there was somebody came up and said, hey, MAGA keeps losing elections. I don't believe Trump can win on a MAGA platform. One of the reasons maybe some people are going to DeSantis. Again, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. My take on that is, wait a second. We have about 6 members of MAGA in the House. Who knows if somebody's MAGA or not? Do you include Anna Paulina Luna or not? Or I would say there's about 6. This is the magnificent 6 that held up the speaker vote. And then they're influencing others. That's why I think you could say it expanded to at least 12, 15. I don't think all 20, 21 that held up the vote at one point were MAGA friendly. They're just some opportunists. But there's some people who are MAGA friendly. A great example of someone who is not MAGA friendly, not MAGA, but is very MAGA friendly, is Byron Donalds. So you've got that. There is no other populist movement that has any representation in D.C. So for you to say MAGA keeps losing elections, it sounds stupid. You just don't know what's happening. MAGA got people in the House, almost got some people who are really MAGA friendly. Maybe Blake Masters isn't MAGA, but you got J.D. Vance, he's not MAGA, but you've got some people who are MAGA friendly in the Senate even. That's a hell of an accomplishment. You could get, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we've got a complicated relationship, but she could get into the Senate and she might be considered MAGA friendly, even though I don't trust her. So don't tell me MAGA keeps losing elections. That doesn't make any sense. Then on top of that, the midterms were an FTX scam, a money laundering scheme against MAGA, among other things I'm not going to digress into. And then Arizona, they had to fortify it. And this is all while the whole machine of our country is against MAGA, from Fox News to every major media outlet to entertainment to schools to everything is anti-MAGA, and still got 6 people in the House, enough to make some type of noise. I don't want to hear any more about MAGA keeps losing elections. That's an asinine take, because it's not true. Midterms didn't happen like it should have, but you got to do the right debrief on what happened there. And then one last take off of that from feedback on that. My one last feedback take on that one was this one here. This one was, okay. So I talked about MAGA and I was like, this MAGA DeSantis thing is more about culture than it is about policy or politics. So DHG, who, I don't know who this person is. Looks like they're from China or whatever. I don't know. But actually had good discussion with them back and forth. They replied to me and said, I appreciate that you admit that MAGA has very little to do with politics and policies. As you say, it's all about culture. It's a populist movement whose message is average white American good, elitist immigrants, LGBTQ, libs, bad, that's it, that's MAGA. So there's a lot to unpack in that very little statement. So the first one is they started out by saying, I appreciate that you admit that MAGA has very little to do with politics and policy. Well, the reason for that, what's the reason for that? It's true. The reason for that is most people don't follow politics and policy. So it's impossible to have a organic or authentic populist movement from any side, right, left, libertarian, anything, based on policy. That's impossible. What percent of the population in our country do you trust to break down policy? I follow this stuff pretty closely. I'm not breaking down any policy of anybody. I need to refresh it. There's so many different policies. I can only really talk generalities. So even if you would say, hey, here's why do you like Trump? Most of my stuff is going to be outside of policy. I can talk about the policies a little bit, but I would have to get a refresher. When you look at even the immigration policy, the economic policies, the policy on China, I mean, I'm not going to, for me, some of y'all can't, I don't pull that stuff. Tim Pool's very good at that. He's very general too, though. Maybe Jack Posavec's good, Bannon's good, but those are people who are really engaged. Most people in the populists don't know about these policies. They don't know about the details. That's not bad. So you appreciate that you meet MAGA. That's not a MAGA thing. That's any populist movement. And most people hate politics. Go on your average dating app and try to see what people think about politics. Most of them don't want to talk about politics. Most of them are just establishment left because they just want to trust people in charge. Just as an example, you go on Twitter, that's what, 5% of the population engaged in a battle in politics. 90% of people in the world don't know what the hell's going on with politics. So how could you have a populist movement based on policy when most people don't even know policy or care and even hate politics? So you don't fully understand what's going on. You thought that was a knock. That's not a knock. And anyway, that's part of the reason why culture is more powerful than the politics in general. Now with MAGA, there is policy, there is politics built off of the people in MAGA, MAGA friendly, that are influencing politics. But the foundation of that basement is the people, and the people, basically, I would describe MAGA as God, family, country. It's cliche, you've heard it a lot, but that's the culture that I would say. When you look at God, you don't care about race. When you look at God, you don't care about, if you want to be LGBTQ, whatever, it's not something I have to condone, not something I need in my own life. And if you try to impart that on me and force me to like it, see, that's why you mistook it as LGBTQ bad. That is not a MAGA policy. That is not a MAGA culture. I'm sorry. I can't speak for MAGA. I'm just saying from my standpoint, that is not a part of it. Immigrants bad, not true. Absolutely not true. My parents are immigrants. It's not about immigrants bad. Elitist bad, maybe it is a little bit about elitist bad, but no, it's not even that. I mean, you could say Trump's an elitist. So you don't even know what MAGA is. You don't understand it. And the people on the left don't get this. This is what the people on the left don't get. Is they want to start a movement based on policies like cancel student debt, Medicare for all. Don't forget about if you agree with it. Forget about whether you agree with these policies or not. Forget about that. They want to start the movement based on the policies. There's no movement that's going to start based on anti-war. And the Libertarian Party, the Mises Caucus, is doing a culture. And then they're talking about anti-war and all that. That's why they're way ahead of the left. That's why the rage against the war, that was organized by the Libertarian Party in part and other people, but it wasn't organized by the populist left. They can't pull like that. They do organize, but they don't pull like that. Because they're starting everything on their policies. Most people don't follow the policies. They don't know the policies. They look at polls and say 70% of people want Medicare for all. But that's not a culture. What's your culture? What defines the populist left? So I say MAGA, God, family, country. What defines the populist left? The populist left is basically the same as the establishment left, but they just have some tweaks. They don't think the establishment goes far enough, basically. That's not a culture. So you have nothing. And that's the strength of MAGA. So he thought he was dissing MAGA. That's the strength of MAGA. He's off there again. I think he replied again and said agreed. That means they're easily duped when it comes to policies. Look at the so-called wall paid by Mexico. I don't know what the dupe was. It didn't happen, but we don't have a totalitarian country, so you got to work through that. You got to choose what. I think they made a mistake going after Obamacare first, but okay, whatever. The only thing that matters to them is finding a candidate who delivers entertaining, fear-mongering rhetoric. Okay, whatever. Tucker Carlson is their ideal successor. I actually think there could be some truth to Tucker being the ideal successor, but everything else is wrong. I said if people are going to win over oligarchs, they must embrace culture over politics. You come across as someone who trusts and supports the 1% trying to run our lives. I don't know if he replied or she replied. Said, you seem impossibly naive if you don't see that Trump is an oligarch and loves nothing more than working with other oligarchs like the Russians and the Saudis. He had a chance to drain the swamp, but he is a swamp wake up. It's an interesting conversation, respectful. Let me know what you think. I'm going to be out. I was thinking about doing the Chris Rock. I saw the Chris Rock special. Maybe I will touch on that on the Chris Rock special. if you haven't seen it. I thought it was hilarious. The Chris Rock special is called what the hell is the name of it again? Selective Outrage. And I thought it was good. I thought it was good, especially the start and finish. The middle was good too. The middle was more, and the middle was more about like a story, just trying to humanize himself a little bit. And I thought it was good. I thought the middle was good. The middle wasn't as much laughter, but the middle was good though. But here's how it sounded when he got to the Will Smith part. And I'll tell you what my thought. I think it's definitely worth watching. I was shocked when I heard it. Not the beginning, not even the Will Smith stuff. But here, we're about a year after the smack. A year after I did that live, one of the most shocking things ever happen since I started the channel. I did a live the night after Will Smith smacked Chris Rock. And believe it or not, 12,000 people went through the live at some point. I don't know. Somebody messed up the algorithm. Like, it wasn't supposed to come to me, but it did.
And his wife was fucking her son's friend.
So that's the part about what happened that got me. I was like, okay, you smacked Chris Rock, and I have no problem if you want to be into that swinger lifestyle, whatever, poly or whatever it is, where your wife goes with someone else, you do. I mean, that's a kink or whatever. That's your own personal stuff. But why are you slapping Chris Rock though? To me, it came across as you into that kind of stuff, or you let your wife do it, or whatever the stuff, y'all doing some funny stuff, but you don't really like that lifestyle because it seemed like you got into your feelings, even though the joke was about her being bald.
And his wife was fucking her son's friend, okay? Now, I normally would not talk about this shit.
Chris Rock finally talks about the Will Smith Oscars slap in live comedy special Selective Outrage. Chris Rock wasted no time addressing the elephant in the room in his new Netflix special Chris Rock Selective Outrage, though he saved the best for last.
I got to work on my narrator voice. I like how he read that like a voice-trained narrator.
During Netflix's first live event on the streaming platform, the actor and comedian alluded vaguely, at first, to the Will Smith Oscars slap that took over the world following the 2022 Oscars. My reaction to this is I totally understand Chris Rock's frustration with the situation. The slap on live TV, Will Smith overreacted. Now what he did is he gave Chris Rock and every comedian the license to joke about his personal life. Chris Rock will now have top content. He will be funny as hell.
And his wife was fucking her son's friend, okay? Now, I normally would not talk about this shit. But for some reason, these niggas put that shit on the internet.
Facts.
I have no idea why two talented people would do something that fucking low down. What the fuck? We all been cheated on. Everybody in here been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. None of us. It's like, hey, I was sucking somebody else's dick. How did that make you feel? Why the fuck would you do that shit? She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And by the way, he does that shit. Everybody in the world called him a bitch. I tried to call the motherfucker and give him my condolences. He ain't pick up for me. Everybody called that man a bitch. Fucking Charlemagne called him a bitch, and the Breakfast Club called him a bitch, and the View, and the Talk, and every rapper, and fucking the Drink Champs called him a fucking bitch. Everybody called him a bitch. They called his wife a predator. Everybody called him a bitch. Everybody. And who's he hit? Me. A nigga he know he could beat. That is some bitch ass shit. That's what the fuck happened, okay? The fuck out of here, man.
There was more to it. My favorite part of that My favorite part of that was actually he was talking about Emancipation. This is a movie about, I haven't seen it, about slavery where Will Smith was in. And the part that had me dying was Chris Rock was like, Will Smith had me rooting for Massa. So in the movie, I guess, the slave master's whipping, the slave who's Will Smith. And Chris Rock's like, he had me rooting for Massa. Like, you missed the spot, Massa. Hit him right here. Hit him again, Massa. That wasn't hard enough, Massa. I was dying. I was dying. But the thing about the special, though, was the whole special was anti-woke. And it was way better to me than anything Chappelle's done recently, because I was telling my wife about it, and she was like, okay, isn't Chappelle anti-woke too? Kind of like that. I was like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Chappelle is pro-black identity way more than Chris Rock is. Chris Rock is too, a little bit, but Dave Chappelle, his whole thing wasn't really against woke, it was against trans. And not against trans in general, but against the woke trans. Trans that try to use their identity as a weapon against other people. He doesn't want black people to be below the totem pole of trans people. So he's in the woke ideology. Chris Rock went, especially just watch the first probably 20 minutes, was just great stuff. Chris Rock going straight at the woke stuff. Just straight at. I was like, whoa, Netflix put this on. So good to see. Good to see Netflix putting it on. And then it kind of went to a lull a little bit because he was telling a story about his daughter. But it was still good, though. It just wasn't like laugh, laugh, laugh moment. And then he ended it with the Will Smith stuff, and he lit it on fire. I liked it. I really liked the special. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to be out, figure out what I'm going to do for today to be productive. And we'll be back with more stuff. Thanks a lot for checking out the channel. Mike has bad knees. Black has bad knees entered the chat. I'm still laughing at that Brokeback Mountain 2 reference from you, man. Did you see by chance that Brilliant Idiots talked about the Jonathan Majors stuff? And I actually watched that. It was funny. Let's do a clip because Andrew Schultz and this is a great podcast. They did a little thing on the Jonathan Majors. Because I did something on it. I was like, what was their take on it? The Jonathan B. So you see their thumbnail. They did the thumbnail. And about the pictures that they took. And it was funny, man. It was funny. They were you could see they were a little careful, especially Charlemagne the God was really careful about how he discussed this.
Yep, Charlemagne the God.
Andrew Schultz.
We are the Brilliant Idiots podcast, back for another week of brilliant idiotness. God damn. I feel like I'm still taping Flagrant. we did 3 hours of Flagrant. How long was that Flagrant episode?
Like 2:45. We might even cut a little bit.
My God.
That was long.
Hold on, but it's already out, isn't it?
I'm gonna skip ahead to some of the discussion here.
wait. They're not coming out with Moonlight 2.
No, this is I guess it's the promotion for Creed. I don't know what magazine it is though. You know what's crazy? These pictures don't look crazy to me.
They're beautiful.
Like I
Charlemagne says, see, that's so fake, Charlemagne. Don't be like that. He said the pictures don't look crazy to him. He even had to admit, if you watch this podcast, he had to admit, like, one dude had his cheek on his shoulder. Not that there's anything wrong about it, but it's just interesting, the reaction now. And that's why Chris Rock, when he started his selective outrage, he mentioned something to the effect of not being afraid to piss people off, or I'm going to piss people off, or something like that. And it was an acknowledgement to, he said, I'm going to try to do something without pissing people off, or something like that. It's like, that's what the woke is. It's like, you can't say something to piss somebody off. And that's what it comes across as Charlemagne the God not being honest, in my opinion.
Black love, man.
Just love, period. Male love.
Yeah, but it's also black male love, dude. That's revolutionary.
Like, black love is revolutionary.
Black love is revolutionary.
But like, there's nothing crazy about these pics to me. There's one pic Jonathan got, I don't know if that's Jonathan's hand on Michael B. Jordan's head or Michael's holding his own head, with the suffering from success pose.
He said there's nothing wrong with it. And he even had to say, like, I don't know which dude had which arm around the other dude. It's just so, I've already done a video on it, but now the reaction of it, you can see it. That's the power of woke, is that Charlemagne the God wouldn't have said that 20 years ago or 10 years ago even. in my opinion.
There's another one where Jonathan got his arm around Michael. Another one where they're head to head. Another one they both got their hands.
Head to head. Pause. I'm going to get out, man. I'm out of here.